During a fight, my wife yelled that I am not my daughter's father and that he was a better F2. Later, she said she was just joking, but I am unable to let go. My wife and I have a 6-year-old daughter. We've been married for almost 9 years. We got into a really big argument, which isn't unusual for us these days. We've been on the verge of divorce multiple times but always end up changing our minds. This time, she got so mad that she yelled at the top of her lungs, "She's not even your daughter, and he was a better freak too." She, being our daughter, of course. My wife's facial expression told me she immediately realized what she said. Then she claimed she was just mad and said it just to be mean, "It's not true, blah blah blah." It made me start to think about when our daughter was conceived. We had been having marital problems even back then. We had actually kind of informally separated for a short time and I was pretty sure I was done with the whole thing, but we both changed our minds. I can't help but wonder if she was with somebody else during that time. She could have just said what she said to be cruel, but that's a pretty serious thing to say. I hate myself that I'm looking at my daughter and wondering if features I thought she got from me really aren't from me at all. She looks so much like my wife that it's hard to see much of anyone else in her at all anyway. I love my daughter. I love being a dad, her dad. I feel like I was meant to do it. We have such a great relationship. She loves her mom, but my daughter and I just have a special bond that my wife has said she's jealous of. That might be why she said what she did, I don't know. It wouldn't change how I felt about my daughter, but my wife would definitely no longer be my wife. It scares the shit out of me to think that somebody else could have some sort of parental right to my kid, even though I'm still legally her father regardless of DNA. It's not like a random guy is going to want to come along all these years later and try to establish paternity anyway, but it's still unsettling. I'm probably overthinking it and my wife was most likely just trying to be extra cruel, which is her defense mechanism in arguments, but I just wish I could stop thinking about it. Relevant comments. Do a DNA test, otherwise you'll always wonder. OP. I'm thinking about it, but part of me doesn't even want to give credence to her ridiculous, mean statements she makes when she's angry. Maybe I don't really want to know the truth as well. I told her I was going to do one and she started saying, "No, I was just joking." Please don't. Then she tries to make me feel guilty about it. Comment. Women don't just say that. Take the test ASAP. OP. Well, my wife can say some really mean things when she's mad. That's her MO. Comment. The problem here is your wife, and your relationship with her. She said this to you to hurt you, she claims, but is now trying her hardest to convince you to not get a DNA test. Tells me there's a fantastic chance you're not the biological daddy, but your relationship is toxic as fuck. You love your child, so stop exposing her to so much negativity and hate. You and your wife are no good for each other, and you're showing your daughter that this is what a relationship is. Divorce would be better, at least it won't be fighting day in and day out. I don't usually like to take that road either. I usually recommend communication and therapy, working together. But this is emotional manipulation going on, from your wife at least. Possibly you too, since we don't know what you say to hurt her in arguments. Your relationship sounds like an addiction. Bad for you, but can't stay away. The way you both keep coming back for more. Maybe it's time for rehab. OP. I don't know that she cheated. I never suspected that she did back then, not until now. It's weird, we unofficially separated and I told her I didn't want to be with her anymore. I actually went out on a date with somebody else because I truly thought I was 100% done with my marriage. It was a bad move to go on a date with another woman before I was actually divorced, but I'd already told my wife our marriage was over. My wife found out about this date, which was pretty innocent. I didn't sleep with the other woman or anything like that. My wife flipped out, came to work and started screaming in front of my coworkers, found the other woman I went on the date with and went to her place of work, but luckily the woman wasn't there. She broke a bunch of my things. Kept saying, "Who does that? Who goes on a date while they're still married?" Accused me of being every horrible name in the book. Comment. That's your daughter. Any idiot can make a kid. Takes a real man to be a daddy. But you have the upper hand with that fight. I don't think you should stay with your wife without some real counseling. Separately, first, then maybe together. But man, it's hard as shit raising kids while divorced. The dad almost always gets screwed. I have a 17-year-old who I only saw 6 to 7 days a month since he was 4 and I missed out on so much. You never get that time back. Make it work, if you can. OP. This is one reason why we haven't divorced yet. Neither of us wants to only see our daughter part-time. But I'm starting to realize we've been selfish in that regard, and in the end if it's better for our daughter to only be with each of us part-time, then we'll have to suck it up. I'm just devastated by the idea of not coming home to my family every day. Update. Some of you may have read my original post regarding my wife screaming that I wasn't our daughter's father during a recent argument. I got some great advice, plus some crazy advice. My inbox has blown up with people messaging me to offer advice, suggestions, and encouragement. I realized that even though a large part of me really didn't want to know if she was telling the truth, I had to find out for the sake of my daughter. If I wasn't her biological father, there was just too great of a chance that she'd accidentally find out one day via an ancestry test or whatever new technology they have 15 years from now that she might want to do for fun. I wouldn't want her to find out that way. I wouldn't want to find out that way. It was also important to know just to protect both of us in a legal sense. I had to know just to be prepared. I haven't shared this update here until now because my original post had so much traffic and who knows who might have been looking at it. I bought an at-home test from the store and she just thinks it was a C19 test that was done in the mouth. She's had to take C19 tests before, so it wasn't a big deal to her at all. They offer sample process tracking, plus guarantee results online in 2 days once the samples arrive at their lab. Sure enough, the results were available within 48 hours of when the samples arrived. She's my daughter. She was always going to be my daughter, but biologically she's mine. I don't think I've ever felt so relieved by a test result in my life. The more I thought about it, after sharing my story here, the more I really began to believe that my wife's statement went beyond just trying to hurt me. She was definitely trying to hurt me to my core when she said it, but I started to feel pretty certain that she had slept with somebody else around the time our daughter was conceived, and she either didn't know who the father really was or had believed for our daughter's entire life that I wasn't her biological father. My wife wasn't informed that I had done the test. I pretended like I had totally dropped the issue regarding what she said to me. I confronted her today. Our daughter went to a sleepover, so I knew it was really the only time I'd have anytime soon. I definitely didn't want our daughter to be home when I informed my wife about what I'd done. So, I told her a white lie. I showed her the test box, had my online account pulled up on my phone, but not close enough to her that she could see results. I told her that we needed to talk about what she said about me not hiring our daughter's father, that it really hurt me and I couldn't get over it, and that I'd done a DNA test. Her panic was obvious. In that moment I knew she hadn't just made the statement to hurt me. There was something behind it. I told her that our daughter wasn't mine and I wanted to know who the hell she slept with during that time. Did he know he had a kid? How long had she known about this? And did she know that it was considered paternity fraud? She started crying and was obviously so stunned by all of this that she didn't even ask me to see the actual test results. She should have demanded that, because she would have easily been able to see that I was bluffing. I at least would have got satisfaction from scaring her and essentially having proof for myself that she had been with somebody else and had at least believed that there was a good chance my daughter wasn't biologically mine. No, she told me who she slept with, begged for my forgiveness, begged me not to tell him about any of it, told me what a great father I am and that I'm the only man she wants to be the father of our daughter, told me she'd do anything as long as I swore to never tell this other guy the truth. This other guy is somebody who I grew up with and was friends with. I haven't talked to him in years now. At the time that our marriage was on the rocks and our daughter was conceived, I had been hanging out with him and a few other buddies pretty regularly. She supposedly couldn't stand him. He seemed to be acting like a good supportive friend to me during that time. He was a friend, but never the type of guy I'd want my sister or a good female friend who I actually respected to ever go out with. He was really good looking and he knew it, cocky, arrogant, but women loved him. He's slept with God knows how many women and has contracted a few STDs that I was aware of over the years. After my wife and I found out she was pregnant and our relationship greatly improved for some time, I stopped associating with him. She couldn't stand him and he started to annoy me. He's married now with 2 kids who are younger than my daughter. I've heard from other people that he's cheated on his wife and also developed a drug problem. I stay far away from him and although he's tried reaching out I've kept my distance because I just don't respect the guy and think he's a scumbag. They had slept together a few times after she found out I went on a date with another woman. She says she was so hurt by what I did and although she hadn't planned to sleep with him he convinced her to do it. She claims she didn't enjoy it and she's felt disgusted about it ever since. She felt pretty sure that he was our daughter's biological father this entire time, but never wanted him involved in our lives or for him to have any rights or access whatsoever to our daughter. She told me she'd do anything, including an amicable divorce, giving me full access to our daughter, letting me keep our house and not asking for any support, if I just agreed to be our daughter's father and to never say a word to the slimy POS she thought produced our kid. I told her the truth after that. I could have continued to hold it over her head, but why? She's mad that I lied to her. I did lie, but she thought she had been lying to me about our daughter's paternity for 6+ years, so I call that even. In the end she ended up sobbing out of relief for several minutes straight and we hugged while she cried, but I don't forgive any of what she's done. Now I'm going to get a full panel of STI tests next week. I'm terrified to know where his D has been. It's practically been in about every hole in our entire town, not to mention the entire college campus where he went to school. I've heard plenty of the stories. He's a fucking bastard and I'm sad to say that he was revived after his last supposed OD last year. Editing to add that yes, my wife and I were informally separated at the time that I went on one date and she subsequently slept with this guy. We didn't actually agree to see other people, but I told her I was done with our marriage and in my mind it was over. We were still living together and sleeping in the same bed, so the lines were sort of fuzzy. I went on a date and it was a pretty innocent date. I didn't sleep with the woman or anything like that. My wife found out and went ballistic, screaming, chasing me down at work, calling me cold-hearted and saying, "Who does that? Who does that?" She was really upset, devastated, begged me to be with her again and to not divorce her.